I'm a people person,
Yes.
right? I enjoy being able to be in the company of people. So when we're stuck behind a screen, it's very disengaging to me.
Right.
But that is the safest way forward.
A woman, I was in Best Buy a day ago or two ago, and I was about 6 feet behind the person in front of me, and the woman, she pulled right up on me. She was right behind me. I said, "Ma'am, could you please back up?" She said, "For what?" This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
And welcome to The Source. Well, Kobe, it has been a quiet but yet very busy week.
Yes.
Since we last came together, several things have occurred. But one of the things I wanted to make sure that we covered on today was that we talk about, just for a minute or two, the Senator Darius Brown situation. It was the case is this week, or was this week. We didn't get the details of the outcome. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, so the case started on January 5th, and it started with Deputy Attorney General Joshua Grubbs, kind of explaining what you're going to see in the case, what you're not going to see. It took forever to kind of seat the jury in the case as well, too. They made it very clear that they wasn't going to refer to him as senator at all, to take away any bias. And also they talked about the fact that there was going to be no eyewitnesses or surveillance tapes of the actual assault being played in this trial. So once they had the jury and once the trial did get started, you heard testimony from the woman involved with this case, but you did not hear from Darius.
Now, you said the woman was involved in the case. Did you happen to hear the testimony, or did you just go off of a summary of what you have heard?
Yeah, so that's a summary of what we've heard.
Okay.
And in that testimony, she talked about what led to them being at the restaurant, and then what led to the argument that it pursued, and that they had an on-again, off-again relationship.
Did she say that he attacked her in any way?
Yes.
And when she said what led to it, was it that something happened where maybe...
Yeah, it said he brought up the fact that she was tagged in a Facebook post, in a picture with another man. And then also she talked about the day after, no name on the flowers, but white roses sent to her, with a message that her grandma used to tell her all the time, that only he would know.
Okay. All right.
So that's where it's at right now. They rested the case at the end of the day. So we're still waiting to hear back to see what next steps are going to be in this case.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that it is very clear as it relates to The Source that no one ever misconstrued or to mistake that we are for any violence, whether it be violence against women, whether it be violence against men.
Correct.
But I do think that we need to start holding our judgment until after things have been laid out. I think personally that Senator Darius Brown has been an outstanding senator. He has helped many communities, but it does not justify any wrongdoing. And I'm always going to stand for what's right. I believe that the community and those who were seeking to run the agenda of other people need to be careful. And for those of us who are in our community who don't pay attention to all the dynamics sometimes, it's important. Now, if he did something, if he attacked this young lady, he's wrong. And I'm not going to go back on that.
Right.
But until we see all the evidence, until we see the facts, we should have held our judgment. And I think some of the things that even happened in Dover, where another situation occurred, this is my opinion, I think that a lot of that spurs out of anger that some people may have had with him. But again, as it relates to how he has should I say, as how he has participated in his role as a senator, he has really helped our community in a lot of ways, to be very honest with you.
Yeah, and again, with this whole situation, it's from my understanding that the Senate is also going to be holding an ethics committee on his actions, but they're waiting for this trial to end.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope and trust, and I just, as a pastor, I do pray for him, and I pray that he certainly rebound from this, and whatever the outcome is, it is. But I just don't want any biases. I don't want any mistreatment. I don't want him to be treated one way and another group or people are treated a different way. My job is to make sure we share the news, and if a person is wrong, they're wrong. But until we find that as a reality, I don't think that we need to be rushing to judgment. Also, it's a new debate that's going on right now with two different wings of even the Democratic Party. Well, should I say that? Because is Republican and Democrat, whatever, as it relates to COVID issues.
Yes.
First of all, we have politicized it too much.
Yes, we have.
We're at a point now where even me as a pastor have to give a sermon on Sunday to talk about the market of the beast, where people are just using this COVID situation in so many different ways, whether it's the market of the beast, whether it's from the devil, anything to label it to keep us from getting out of it is what's going on. One of the debates that's going on here in Delaware is the debate of whether we should go virtual or whether we should stay in person school. We know there are benefits to the staying in person, but with this variant, I'm very concerned about children being in school.
Yeah, this variant, the Omicron variant, is a lot more contagious than anything else we've seen. And honestly, sitting back, New Year's and the holidays and everything, kind of, just with my immediate family, it's scary, right? You don't know. I've been tested multiple times. Yeah. All of them come back negative. It's been almost 2 years. But people are picking up and showing positive left and right.
Yes.
And that's one of the issues right now with the teachers. A lot of teachers are being affected by this. I think when you have a setting like a classroom, right, an in-person classroom, each one of those kids are a possible carrier of COVID-19.
Absolutely.
They go home, and when they're in their homes, they don't wear masks. Their parents just came from somewhere else. Their brothers and sisters just came from somewhere else. And then you have them all in the same house. Then you have classrooms that are 30 and 40 people. That's a lot of different variables. You only need one person to have it, and it can spread like wildfire. And I think, the teachers are put in a very tough situation, having to be in the classroom with them. And I know that's why, some school districts are going virtual and preparing to stay virtual even longer. It's sad that after 2 years, we're still in this.
Well, I think we're still in it because you have people who just will not get vaccinated, and the variants just keep coming. But I want to go back on something you said a few minutes ago, and that is, one of the things that we did was we required that all parents are vaccinated even before the children at the age of 5 and above was able to. It has helped us tremendously. I'm not saying no one has not caught the COVID virus, because with this variant, you can be vaccinated and still catch it. But it has helped us to a level that was unbelievable. Our absenteeism as it relates to our teachers, it is not as nowhere near where some other places are. But whenever you have children from all different walks of life, parents who have all different types of lifestyles, and you're putting them in the classroom, you are putting our teachers at risk. And they are people too. Now, I do believe that there's a whole lot of benefits in being in the classroom, especially in communities that I represent a lot of times, where they don't have all the access to this, that, or the other, or they got parents who understand the different computer technology. But in this situation, we even did something else at East Zion Fair. We decided all youth ministries have been placed on hold.
Oh, wow.
Because we see where it is at the strongest. We have dance ministries, we have step ministries, we have music ministries, and we put everything on hold for them because we see it is spreading, and we don't want our seniors and others to wind up catching it. So I'm an advocate at this point for this variant, saying let's go back to virtual until we can get through this, because it's just too many children who are getting it.
And I mean, people have Zoom fatigue. People are tired of being virtual. For someone like me, I'm a people person, right? I enjoy being able to be in the company of people. So when we're stuck behind a screen, is very disengaging to me.
Right.
But that is the safest way forward. Especially, now they're saying that you can get the flu and coronavirus.
Wow, that's a bad mix.
They just had the first case of that not too long ago. So, as we're in this winter season, as the flu season is still going, Corona's still around, we just have to be better as a people.
Yeah.
People have to stop pitting their own personal needs in front of the needs of their community.
Yeah, and humanity at large. Kobe is certainly vaccinated. I'm totally vaccinated. I even got my booster. Did you get your booster?
I did get my booster.
Okay, so we are vaccinated and boosters, and we're still going to separate. Why? Because it's important that we have it be an example to what we're asking. I'm going to say to all of you who are watching us, please make sure you don't take any chances. You need to vaccinate. I was in the Dunkin' Donut today, and while I was getting my coffee for the day, not one person in there had on a mask. I looked weird with my mask on, and not a person in there had it on. Two persons who were working had masks on, but there was a couple who did not. At some point, we have to do some sacrifice and recognize that this is serious. This is one of the most contagious variants that we've had. It may not be the most lethal, but it is certainly the most contagious, and I think that we really need to start thinking about it. Getting those, I think it's the N95 mask.
KN95.
We got to get those masks. As a matter of fact, we ordered some even for the staff here to make sure that everybody is protected. We have to also make sure we're washing our hands, because all too often we're not doing, and separating. A woman, I was in Best Buy a day ago or two ago, and I was about 6 feet behind the person in front of me, and the woman, she pulled right up on me. She was right behind me. I said, ma'am, could you please back up? She said, for what? I said, because we're still in a variant, and I don't want what you have if you have anything, and I don't want you to get anything that I may have. And she was a little indignant, but she did back up because
I have hand sanitizer on me.
Yeah.
I was able to get a big box of hand sanitizer. So I keep it on me. I wash my hands constantly. That's why my hands be so ashy sometimes.
Is that what it's from?
But also, I'm wearing 2 masks again now.
Yeah.
I had got to the point where I thought I was a little safer with, the vaccine and everything, and I was just wearing a 1 mask. I'm wearing 2 now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep wearing 2 until this, till we're over this spike and start seeing a downward trend.
Yeah.
But right now, nowhere in America is seeing a downward trend.
Nowhere.
So, we really have to address this. We saw more people die in 2021 than we saw in 2020 originally.
Right.
So if we keep on this same model, you're going to see very high numbers in 2022, and we cannot deal with that.
We can't. And I saw in the paper this week that 1 in 4 tests come back positive. That's a quarter of the population. Not good. Not good. Another, I try not to have so much sad news whenever we're having our broadcast, but what happened in Philadelphia was just really heartbreaking. I am a Philadelphian, and it wasn't too far from where I was reared at, to be very honest, in North Philadelphia. But it's several things come out of this situation where the 13 people died in this house fire. One, it was about 20, according to the papers, and I hope I'm right with my numbers, about 27 people living in one house. 13 in one apartment. And all 13 in that apartment had perished. And before I even talk about how I just feel so bad for that family and those who have to deal with the loss of 13 members of their family, but we have to remember that there are people who don't have the luxury to have their own bedroom, don't have the luck. I heard a couple of people say, it's a shame to have that many people in one room. Some people are just trying to survive. And that's why we have to be a little bit more sensitive as it relates to how we react to humanity at large. For those people who just want to see things on a crystal ball where everything is perfect, no, we don't know the circumstances for why 13 individuals, I think it was 7 children and it was 8 children, and why it was that many and that many adults in one room, one apartment. We don't know, but what we do know is that all of their lives were taken, and that's really was a heartbreak.
And again, this fire was caused by a dry Christmas tree. That caught fire, sparked up. and it's a very unfortunate they didn't have working smoke detectors.
Yeah, I saw that.
So two things, make sure every time we do either move the clock forward, move the clock back, daylight savings, make sure you're checking your batteries and your fire alarms. If you don't have fire alarms, I know the Wilmington Fire Department used to have a program where they would install two key ones. So one would probably be on the first floor and the other on the second, or however, if you're in an apartment, if you're renting, that is on your landlord to make sure that it's working.
It's on the landlord to make sure it's working, but because you live in it, you do it and report to landlord.
Correct.
Yeah.
But also with Christmas trees, it is time to take them down and get rid of them.
Yeah.
They are starting to die now. No matter how much you're watering them, they're still drying out. So we have to do a better job with making sure we take care of things like that. But this was a horrible, horrible way to start the year up in Philly.
Yeah.
And I really was sad to hear that it was 8 children who lost their life as well.
Yeah, and if you would have seen the deputy fire marshal, just him talking about it, you felt the hurt. He said in his 35 years, he'd never seen such devastation, a fire of that level. And honestly, because so many children were affected, that's one of the reasons why, I'm sure the hearts are being broken. People are talking about it everywhere. We must certainly be praying, those of you who understand the worth of prayer, for that family and for that situation. But also, we have to make sure we are paying attention to humanity at large, because people have to survive. And sometimes when they're surviving, it may not look good to us, but that's the only way they can survive. Yes. Go ahead.
And, the last point I'll make on that was this was a Philadelphia Housing Authority property. And there was 18 people total living in Unit B, the unit that caught fire, and 8 people living in Unit A.
Okay.
The Philly Housing Authority said the other day that they knew that there was a minimum of 14 people living in Unit B.
Okay.
So it was 4 extra people in there when this fire took place, but 14 people in a unit is still way too much.
And notice what you said, a unit, apartment. It wasn't a house. It was, and I think it was a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. That I'm not sure of, so I don't want to report wrong, but it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. And again, how it was the floors were converted to full apartments.
Right.
So this was the 2nd and 3rd floor of this house. But the Philly Housing Authority said that they knew as late as October of 2021 that there was 14 people in that unit.
Is that a crime?
I think it is. I think, when it comes to situations like that, not a crime on the family, but a crime for the housing authority. If they know someone that is in a situation like that, I think it should be their responsibility to say, look, let's get you into somewhere else.
Yeah, a house.
A house,
Right. I'm not saying throw them out, but put them in another type of unit. Yeah. Interesting. Thanks so very much for your in-depth coverage on that. Let me go to my last part, and that is this week I had the golden opportunity to meet with the mayor for the city of Wilmington, and you have heard me. I was one of the biggest critics that he has, because I believe that with the violence going to the level that it's going, and for the murder in our city to be at the level that it is, there needs to be some conversation held. So I called into his office and I said, listen, can I get a meeting with the mayor? And he certainly granted me the opportunity to meet with him. We met this week on Wednesday. And to my surprise, because sometimes I just sit back and wait to see how people react and what they're going to do, or just appeasing me just to appease me. But I don't feel that that's the way that meeting went. I was given the opportunity to express my concerns, a little bit about my background, so they understand I'm not calling for a grant. I'm not calling for you to give me a handout.
Right.
I'm calling and I want to meet because my people are dying. My people deserve better. And not only better from the services that the city provide, but better from its leadership. He heard that, and he respectfully, allowed me to present, and then he shared some things with me. And one of the things that he shared was that he's going to take the full responsibility for his messaging. And I thought that was key, because I told him on that call, and there was another person on the call with us, that, you know, whoever is your person who's advising you on how to handle this should be fired.
Yeah.
Because nowhere in the world you could be this silent. But he explained to me that he did not understand, or didn't, I shouldn't say understand, but knew how to really message this, because he felt it was just so many elements that we need to put a plan together. So behind the scenes, there is a plan that is being put together, and he promised me that he would certainly reach out with the plan that they are putting together. They're finishing it up now, where they are going to do several things to deal with the 3 or 4 sections of the city that is facing this outrage of violence here in the city. And I shared with him that if this plan is aggressive, if this plan is going to save the lives of the innocent, I'm going to back you 100%. Because I didn't call so I can fuss. Right. I called to solve problems. However, if this is just a plan that we put something together, then I'm going to certainly speak out against it. So I'm looking forward to it. And I know, again, for those of you who are watching us, I want to make sure you hear me carefully. I have been a strong critic and will continue to be whenever I feel there's an injustice. But I think it's important for integrity purposes to share truth also when we find that, I had this meeting and the meeting turned out to be a pretty good one. I'm going to give him a chance to be able to present what he has to present. And we know we don't have a lot of time. We are in the operation room. This is the emergency room. We don't have 7 years from now, this is what's going to happen. We need emergency care now. And I'm looking forward to this. And he says to me that he, his chief, and others have gotten together and they're finishing it up now. And within the next week or so, we will have something to be able to react to. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, well, hopefully it's something that meets the time that we're in. It's a little disappointing that it took this long to do this, but I will reserve until I see the plan as well too, and see them start to implement it. But let me ask you this: with him saying he has a messaging issue, have people not told him this already?
I think they have. I think the language that he uses, and he was very honest. That's what threw me off. I mean, I felt he was very honest. And I don't want to misread or misstate him at all today, but I think he was saying that he was a little tone deaf. And that is the truth. But still,
right, you
have people around him who should have said, "No, Mr. Mayor, this is not the way you need to move." Even if I know he's very ripe in his age, 76 years old. I thought it was great. But sometimes it's hard to tell people that in that age bracket what to do. But somebody needs to be able to say, "No, you cannot do this. No, we should be doing this to make sure." No way in the world you can have an African-American chief of staff, a person who's supposed to be representing the gay and lesbian community, who cannot say, "Mr. Mayor, this is the route we need to go." And to the point where I can tender my resignation. Because that's where school I come from.
Right.
I come from the school, if you're not going in the direction that's helping my people, then I got to remove myself. And what has happened is he did take ownership, because he says he is the one who makes the decisions, and that's what I appreciated. But I think he heard the conversation that we had. I hope there's a shift.
Well, that's good. That's good. Again, he has someone who's very well experienced in comms work, communications, and dealing with the media. In John Rago, he has decades long of experience.
Did you say John Rago? Yeah. Well, I think John Rago got his own agenda.
Right. Well, that's so. I'm saying it's hard sometimes with the messaging point when you have someone who has so much experience.
Yeah.
I would understand if you had brought someone new in.
Right. I understand.
But someone who had been through another mayor's administration, worked for city council at a point under Theo Gregory.
Yes.
And then went back to the mayor's side in 2016.
Yeah.
So continuing to, one, actually have a plan, have an action plan that you can have goals and take steps towards achieving, but then also making sure you're communicating that with the community. And we haven't seen either one happening these last 5 years.
Well, we're going to give it an opportunity. On this show, we're going to give it an opportunity. And I was asked the question. The question was, what suggestions do you have? And I certainly gave one or two of my suggestions, and mine are pretty much aggressive because I think the innocent is who I'm concerned about.
Right.
I'm not concerned about the uninnocent, but I don't think in humanity we should not treat anyone inhumane. Okay,
right.
So I don't want that message to be crossed up. But I think we have to be aggressive in addressing, because we got children who cannot go outside. We have older people who cannot go to the supermarket because they are afraid. So we have to get that fear and those tyrants out of our community. And I'll stand strong on that.
I agree with you.
All right.
I agree with you.
We'll be right back.
Drivers have been stranded for hours on a major interstate in eastern Virginia. Take a look at these pictures. Many have been trapped in their cars overnight due to a severe winter storm that dropped several inches of snow and knocked trees onto the road. Plus, an estimated 20 to 30 disabled trucks are now blocking traffic.
Transportation crews are working now to tow cars out of the way, also plow the interstate to prevent more crashes and clear the roads. And just in the last few minutes, in some sections, we've seen some cars begin to move, though slowly. Jennifer Travis, her husband and 12-year-old daughter, rented a car yesterday to get home from Orlando after their flights back to D.C. were canceled twice. They are among those who got stuck on I-95. They've been there since around 2:30 this morning. Jennifer, good to have you on. We understand you might have a little good news. You were just able to get off an exit ramp.
Slightly good news. We were able to get off exit 136 just before Stafford Airport. However, we're now driving down American Legion Road in Virginia, where things haven't been plowed. Trees are down. Cars are just everywhere. Like, it's a mess. It's hard to get by. We actually just skidded right before I jumped on. So it's treacherous. It's treacherous out here, to say the least.
Well, Jennifer,
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say we definitely want you to stay safe there as you are luckily being able to drive at least a little bit and get some movement in. But what a double whammy you were dealt with. First, having your flights canceled, and now this. How much head time did you have, knowing that there would be a storm and that you would hit right into on your way home?
So we knew that there was a snowstorm, and we kept kind of watching the details. But everything that we had seen said it was going to hit southern Virginia. And we were like, okay, we've got 24 hours. Hopefully things will be melted and handled. We've never experienced a lack of preparedness from a snowstorm like this.
Yeah.
This is bad. Like, roads haven't been pre-treated. Just seeing everything at an utter standstill, it just, if we knew from Florida, how come Virginia didn't know? How come the people with access to address this or to prepare us as best as we could didn't do more?
How was it, Jennifer, just staying warm overnight? How did you manage?
Thankfully, before we had gotten onto the 95, we had filled up our gas tank. Otherwise, we had just kept the car running, but we had cracked the windows so that way we weren't breathing in carbon monoxide or anything. But it was still cool. We don't have winter jackets with us. We have light jackets because we were in Florida. So just doing the best we can, but also trying to conserve our gas because we didn't know when we were going to get home.
And we're back. Well, Kobe, let's turn a little bit towards the national news. And it was interesting to see Virginia had more snow than they anticipated.
Yes.
And the constant cry I heard from the governor all the way down was, we just weren't prepared.
Yeah.
Because we were looking for 2 inches and ended up getting a foot plus.
Yep.
What's going on with that, Cody?
Yeah, so they were very underprepared for this, and it was so bad that on 95, people were stuck on 95 for over 24 hours.
Yeah.
Senator King was actually coming to D.C. from his Richmond house to have meetings about voting rights as we're gearing up and getting ready to deal with that. And, you know, the whole conversation around that. He should have only taken 2 hours to get from his house to the Capitol. It took him 27 hours. It was so bad and so many people were stuck in traffic that a bread man, he was delivering bread, decided to say, look, I'll just take the hit here, got out his truck and started delivering bread to people because people didn't have anything to eat.
Wow.
So those cars were stuck there for a long time. People were freezing. They didn't have extra blankets or the warm clothes that they probably should have had on because they were told it's just going to be a pretty much a dusting, right? You know, we're used to having 2 inches of snow and being able to drive, get around with that, still get home and everything. But they were not prepared for this whatsoever. And, you know, we have more snowstorms coming.
Yes, this week,
So on Thursday, the governor, ahead of the snowstorm that's supposed to be coming Thursday night, the governor went on and just declared a state of emergency. They said, you're not going to get us this time. And that happened on Thursday morning.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with these snowstorms, but they were definitely caught not paying attention.
Yeah. I wonder, did they have rest facilities available?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
No. So people had to go off to the side of the road.
yeah. Well, they had to go on the side of the road because they couldn't go nowhere because they were stuck where they are. And only make light of it only because it's just how snow can just stop a whole city, a whole expressway, and that's one of the major arteries of Virginia. So I really feel bad. And then we had Tim Kaine, who was stuck there with it, so he got an opportunity to see. Maybe they'll give him a little bit more funding. I don't know.
But here's the thing, Tim Kaine, a lot of you may know him. He's the junior senator from Virginia. He was Hillary Clinton's running mate in 2016 for the vice presidency. But yeah, no, for 48 miles of 95 was backed up in Virginia. That's insane. I mean, I think that's more miles than we have here in Delaware for 95.
Most definitely.
So that's like all of our 95 being backed up plus some.
Wow. Does he travel with anyone? Because I know he was a candidate for vice president, but he's just a junior senator.
No. So most senators travel by themselves unless they're up there in age. A staffer may pick them up. I know for our senators here, a lot of them take the train. So they may have a staffer pick them up at Union Station. Or they may take a Lyft or Uber. I've ordered a shared Lyft before and gotten in a car with Senator Tester from Montana. He was coming in.
Did you tell him who you were? And
I was shocked. And we had a very nice conversation about our favorite bakeries down there. He's a big guy. So a lot of them, honestly, outside of the leadership, they don't have a detail. They don't have a police detail whatsoever. And if you're not a big name, quote unquote celebrity, you don't have that protection there.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
So it's been very interesting to see how this is all going. But yeah, no, he was traveling by himself.
Wow. Listen, one more thing at the national level is the January 6th has passed.
Yes.
We had an opportunity to see it being highlighted all week. I'm disturbed that we are moving at a very slow rate. A lot of people have criticized the Department of Justice for how slow they are moving. But what are your thoughts on this whole January 6th, now that we have celebrated its year?
Yeah, so, it's been 1 year since we saw insurrection, but it's also been 1 year since we saw democracy change with Georgia flipping 2 Senate seats. And it wasn't even 24 hours later, we saw our Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester in the chamber of the House praying for the safety of her fellow colleagues and herself. I was in Georgia, and my flight was January 6th. So when I got on my plane, they were just outside protesting. Well, that must have been the longest plane ride ever, because by the time I stepped off, the first thing I saw as soon as I exited the gate was a woman's been shot. People were storming the Capitol, tear gas everywhere. And I'm like, what is going on?
Wow.
Now you look a year later and you see a lot of these people who stormed the Capitol, they're now running for office. Over 57 of them are now running for office.
Wow.
And this ended up being a springboard for them. You see our democracy under attack, with more and more people talking about how they can suppress the vote. Over 500 bills have been introduced since then. You saw the FBI and the DOJ slow walk some of these trials. And I think it's crazy that these people are only getting months in jail for stealing documents from a federal office, from stealing the Speaker of the House, the third person in line for the presidency's phone. The fact is, you have members of Congress who helped them.
Yeah, that's where my issue is.
I've been through the halls of Congress, and underneath, there's offices underneath the actual Capitol building. And you have ceremonial offices, and then you have offices they really use. And I've had meetings in back offices. You go through so many tunnels, turns, doors, it's very hard. And there is video footage of them going directly to people's offices.
Yep. Especially
So unless you have a map, which they don't, unless you're a member, there's no way you know where exactly
and that's how
to
we
go.
know it was inside people who helped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You had people like Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Mary Miller, Paul Gasol. All of them worked with the insurrectionists, and all of them should be expelled from Congress.
Well, I think the way they're doing it, even though they're walking slow, you're going to see some movement in that area, I believe. I believe. Because who is responsible have not been answered.
Right.
We hear who did it. We saw the people who did it, but we have not really been able to investigate clearly or see the investigation piece, because I see they working behind the scene pretty good. And I give credit, you know, we talk about how the Republicans outsmart the Democrats sometimes. Well, I'll be very honest with you. That Cheney woman, she's bright.
Yeah.
She's bright. She's good. She's good. I'm really impressed with how she's getting under Donald Trump's skin.
I don't know how much longer she's going to be in Congress, because they're really coming for her in this election cycle. But she's made it clear. She was like, look, you can't call yourself a conservative Republican who cares about the Constitution and support Trump.
You can't.
Because Trump tried to take over the Constitution for his own benefit.
Right.
So when you're dealing with that, I wish more of them had the courage to stand up and say the same thing, because that's what they used to believe in, be originalists. They wanted to keep the Constitution protected. They didn't think it should change at all. Or now, most of their caucus have sold out to Trump.
I tell you what, I got a suggestion. She ain't gonna listen to me, but if she listens to me, I can help her win. You know how she can win? She could do like the mayor did here. She can just become independent. She can just become independent and leave that Republican Party and keep her conservative views. Talk to the Democrats. Say, look, I need your help. Y'all can't win. Vote for me. With the few conservatives that they have still who are real conservatives, she can still win.
Yeah, I think
She can
so
still.
too.
She would have to. She cannot win the Republican Party,
Right.
because it's going to be very, very difficult. But she can become independent right now and run as an independent. And let me assure you, she could win, because they like her.
Yep.
It's just that, you know, that Trump group is pretty big.
And at the 1 year anniversary, both Vice President Harris and President Biden gave speeches.
Yeah.
And President Biden really pointed to Trump's
Yes, he did.
involvement in this whole situation.
And this is the first time this has happened too.
Right.
I'm very grateful for that.
Right. And, you know, some people said, you know, this probably would have been better if we heard this last year. But you look at this, you actually had Fox News and some of these conservative commentators begging the president's chief of staff to have the president make a statement, and they didn't want to, because they knew the president, this is what the president wanted. He took this as, yes, they care about me, which is sad. which is sad. They had nooses, they had guns, they had tasers, they had zip ties, all trying to get to members of Congress.
And for it to not have been handled to a point where it was an insurrectionist from the beginning is a disgrace. CNN did a little review, and a couple of the anchors are discussing it, and I want you to see this.
With all due respect to President Biden, it doesn't matter as much what he says today as what Republican leaders say going forward. We, as John Avlon just pointed out so eloquently in that piece, we're at a point now where, I mean, Donald Trump, one of the things he did during his presidency is he made the very concept of facts and institutions, he turned them into partisan issues, right? So just reporting a fact became a partisan debate, even if it was just a fact. And now he is doing the same with our democratic process, has done the same with our democratic process. A year ago, we were all horrified to see what happened. You heard the Republican House Leader, Kevin McCarthy, blame Trump for the mob, specifically, clearly, concisely. And now he will never criticize Donald Trump. The words that he said about Donald Trump bearing responsibility for the violent mob that attacked the Capitol, that very concept that he himself said, Kevin McCarthy, were I to say it right now, I could see Kevin McCarthy criticizing me for being partisan, even though I'm just repeating his own words against him. We need Republican patriots, not just Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney. We need Republican patriots to stand up for democracy. And we need the conservative pundits who know better to stop belittling what happened on January 6th. I think it was conservative writer Kevin Williamson who said, of course, the riots that we saw in the cities throughout 2020, of course they were horrific, of course they were criminal, but there is a difference between a coup d'etat and a coup de target. There is a big difference.
It kind of feels like screaming into the wind, though. I mean, if you read this op-ed that's out in the New York Times by Jimmy Carter, he's talking about, we're teetering on the edge, this democracy is, and he says it really takes Democrats and Republicans coming together, but that's not happening. I mean, Jake, finish this sentence, as you so often describe the State of the Union. 1 year later, the state of our union is?
And we're back. Well, this is my favorite part of the show. We talk about the Kobe Corner.
Yes.
What's going on in Kobe's world?
Yeah, so first I want to talk about voting rights, right? It's something very near and dear to my heart. And Senator Schumer, the majority leader of the Senate, has made it known that they're going to do something with the filibuster. They're going to push for the carve-out for democracy-based issues, and they want to get it done by MLK Day or before. So that gives us until January 17th, the actual holiday. And what he wants to do with this is get it to the point where they have a workaround that he can get all 50 of his senators, his Democratic senators, on board. Manchin's the one holdout right now. But there is some opportunity to possibly get 1 or 2 Republicans on board.
That's what, okay, good.
Yeah, so both Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, who is up for election this year, she's going to have a tough time. She voted to impeach Trump, is one of the people that they're leaning on to try to get her on board with the idea. And the other is, shockingly, Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney has been an anti-Trump person for a long time. And they believe that they could get him on board with this proposal. Now, for me, I would have said Susan Collins from Maine would have probably been the other most likely person. But they believe they can get to Mitt Romney.
But you know what? I'm going to tell you why they probably believe, and you know way more in the political side than I do, is because Mitt Romney does have a piece of fiber in him for justice. And even though he has been certainly a critic of Trump, just like I really thought Manchin was. But Romney, he's a conservative, and he's a true one. But when it comes down to certain principles, he is one that I would probably think about.
Right. And I mean, if you look at it, he also has his own base. He's loved in Utah.
Yeah.
He wasn't even the governor of Utah. He was the governor of Massachusetts. Yeah. But that Mormon base loves him. And he can hold his own, and he doesn't need Trump to win. So I think that's why he's been more vocal and more willing to work with the Democrats on things. So we'll see what truly happens with it. But again, this is building, right? You had over the summer and over the fall, Freedom Fall and Hot Charge Summer, hundreds and hundreds of activists risked arrest. They marched on D.C. for voting rights. And that all ties in to what we've been saying, that in order to get these democracy-based issues, the John Lewis Voter Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act passed, you have to change the filibuster. And then you also look at the discussion is, what about D.C. statehood?
Yeah.
D.C. right now is in a holding pattern if they're going to get statehood or not. If you look at every state that has joined the union outside of the original 13, they had a simple majority vote.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
Now they're trying to say that in order to get a D.C. statehood bill passed, it would have to break the filibuster, which is a 60-vote threshold, and then have a simple majority, which it shouldn't be like that. There was no filibuster for the rest of the states. So that's also going to be talked about in this filibuster reform of, will D.C. statehood fall under this as well too? And if it does, then you could likely see D.C. statehood as early as 2022 in that election cycle.
But the question becomes, Manchin probably don't want that to happen either.
No, Manchin is against D.C. statehood. But again, Lisa Murkowski's for it. So it would still be 50-50, and the vice president would be the deciding vote.
Have you heard, have she said that she's for it?
Yes.
She did?
Yep.
So it's all about this whole filibuster now.
Right. And the D.C. statehood bill is actually being championed by Delaware's Tom Carper.
Yes.
Our senior senator is the champion.
Yeah, and I often said, why didn't we court some of the Republicans, one or two, who were in districts that they need the support of the liberals or those who are not as conservative? Why didn't they earlier try to find some of them to help us across? Because Manchin has really hurt us.
Well, if I'm President Biden, I probably would have appointed, offered a cabinet position to Susan Collins, to Richard Burr, to Tom Tillis. These are Republican senators from red states with blue governors, so that they could appoint.
Yeah.
And when you make the appointment, you don't have to appoint from the same party, so that they could appoint Democratic senators. That's just me. That's how I think it would have been nice.
And that's why I don't understand why you didn't. Oh my gosh! See, you're thinking, your thought process is different because I'm right. You're right.
Yeah.
And they probably would have accepted too.
Oh yeah, I definitely think Susan Collins would have accepted two different positions within the Biden administration if she was offered, but he chose not to. He did the exact opposite of Obama, who took Republicans and Democratic senators, but it was too up in the air to pull anyone from the Senate for Biden, which I get. He didn't pull too many governors as well too, but still I would have found some workarounds.
No, I don't get not doing those who got. If you could have pulled two more senators who were Democrats, our whole agenda would have been done.
Yep.
It would have been done without no question.
And then I would have fired them if they wanted to go against me after. But that's just me. But also building on the voting rights, Dr. King's son, Martin Luther King III, his wife and his daughter are calling for people to march on D.C. on January 17th.
Okay.
This is not a year of celebration. This is a year of action.
I like that.
Right?
Go there. Stay there for a second, and just so for the people who are watching, please let's get them to understand what you just shared.
Right. So they are calling for Congress to deliver on voting rights and for President Biden to deliver on voting rights.
Right.
Their whole message is, look, this isn't just a minority-based issue.
Right.
This is just a democracy-based issue, and that you, as a Democrat, cannot allow voting rights to be stripped from so many. That under Democratic trifecta in the White House, the U.S. Senate, U.S. Congress, these states are doing the most injustice and most voter suppression, Jim Crow-based laws that we've seen in the last 60, 70 years. So why are we not taking more urgency to get this done?
Right, right.
They are being joined by over 80 different partners, and they're providing buses from key areas. So there will be a bus from Philly, and if there's not enough people to fill the second bus up there, they're going to bring that bus down to Delaware. And again, that is January 17th.
Now, somebody called the church and they wanted to know more about that. Is there a website or a phone number we could give that people may stay in touch with, understanding, who they can communicate with?
Yes. So if you go to deliverforvotingrights.com,
okay,
it has all the information you need, and we'll put that up on the screen.
Yeah, please make sure that's up on the screen. Say that again.
Deliverforvotingrights.com.
Okay, and that will give you the information and whatever information they may need in order for that to
about
occur.
the day of action.
Yeah, I think one of the most significant things that Dr. King was about justice for all.
Yes.
And he wasn't asking for a handout or for you to treat us better.
Right.
Just equal. And I think the way all of these voter bills have been put up since Trump's lie, we need federal intervention. I heard Mitch McConnell talking about, you don't want the federal to get involved because it's not working in his favor.
Right.
But the reality of it is, for years, the Republicans have been working hard with gerrymandering and things of that nature to really, really suppress African American and people of color votes. But in Georgia, they showed when we come together, we are a mighty force. But I know you've covered most of the areas that you want to cover. I am just a fan. I act like you the fan, but I like to talk about her. But where are we how are things going in Georgia?
Yes. So on January 5th, the anniversary of them flipping both Senate seats, there was an event to talk about what needs to happen still in Georgia this year. And Jon Ossoff, the senior senator from Georgia, officially endorsed Stacey Abrams. Okay. And Stacey is doing great work, right? We've seen what she was able to do with redistricting, with fair vote, get people back registered, even though their laws are stripping people off. There is a slate of candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, that are all going to be important about if we are able to hold Georgia or not in 2024. You have a congressman who's running against the incumbent secretary of state for the sole purpose that the secretary of state did not overturn the election.
I know, yeah. Sad.
He's endorsed by Donald Trump. So that's where Trump's mind is, right? He wants to take over any position that deals with the Department of Elections, so that he has the power to say who won, not the actual people.
Yeah.
Which is the sad fact of it.
Yeah.
You have people, you have former Senator Perdue, who lost to Jon Ossoff, who's running for governor, saying he has to fight Stacey Abrams and bring the party together. But he's the one dividing it.
Right.
Because they're not all supportive of Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how 2022 turns out in Georgia. But if you look, we lost Virginia. Democrats lost Virginia, and they lost bad.
Yeah.
That same night, Georgia flipped 41 Republican seats at the local, state, and county levels.
Okay.
41.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And some of these seats were areas that Donald Trump won by almost 20 percentage points.
Okay.
20, 30 percentage points. But they got people re-engaged. They got people who never come out to come out and vote.
That's going to be the case.
So Georgia is going to be where I think everyone's going to be paying attention.
Yeah.
But we still have work in our own communities.
Oh,
but
yes.
We're definitely keeping an eye on Georgia.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to watching and looking at the trajectory of how it's going to go and going. I really want her to be the first black governor for the state of Georgia. But she's a prime candidate for president. I mean, the woman is just good. She reminds me of the president of Lincoln University when I was a student there, Dr. Neera Sudarkar. She was such competence, such know-how, simple but solid. And that's important to me when I'm looking at leaders, especially in the time, because what she was able to do, and even though she lost that election, what she was able to do spoke volumes.
Right.
It can
She
be
didn't
done.
stop. She kept going.
And that's what we appreciate about her so very much. We'll be right back.
I'm getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Yes, there could be some short-term side effects from the vaccine, but they go away in a day or two. Those are signs that my body's building protection. It's worth it to avoid serious problems from COVID-19 disease.
And we're back. We're coming to the end of our show. Last week we came before you and we shared that we were going to start dealing with crime fighters and we were going to start doing some things. And we started with Ezion Fair. Someone broke into our Holdness Center, as you will see the person on our screen, and we had a plea to the community. I had been criticized for why would I do this, and I'm so grateful that right after we had aired last week, we received so many tips of the full name of this individual. What we're doing now, Kobe, is that we are in the process of waiting for the Wilmington Police Department now. It was really shocking. It took them a week to be able to get to us, but it's shocking that we have a full name and we even have an alias, and we have not heard back from them yet. For those of you who gave us your tips, we will certainly, we gave you a code. You know, we also told you if you were the first, second, third, 10th, 20th person for the name that you gave, we will give that $1,000 to the person who gave first, because we want to make sure that we are honest and we have our integrity, but we have not been able to identify if the names that we receive is correct. Once we get back, we're now waiting for the Wilmington Police Department. It was kind of mesmerizing to my staff, Kobe, when one of the police officers said that our technology is better than theirs. And I said, ain't nowhere in the world.
Right.
They just got $30 million. Ain't nowhere in the world our technology is better. But they were a little shocked, especially our tech person was very shocked to hear those comments. But it shouldn't take this long. We got a full name. I'm not going to say the name out here we got a couple of names, but one of the names came up a couple times.
Gotcha.
So I'm saying, here's the picture.
Right.
It's a very clear picture. Those of you who are watching the screen, this person, if you know this person, you know this person. And for them not to be able to get back to me by now is just disgraceful. And it could be the reason why John J. Street continue to say that solving cases is a weakness for the city of Wilmington.
Yep, it is. It is. Look, they solved, 2% of all murders? It's sad that they're taking so long to deal with this, especially with the fact that y'all did most of the work for them.
That's a good thing. And our viewers, I really appreciate that. And I said that to the mayor as well, that people didn't think that no one would come forward. You will come forward in order to stop. This church has done, our community center have done some great work here, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you giving the names. I will assure you that no one will ever know who sent in the tips, but the person who certainly was the number one person, the first person to give the name of the individual that is identified, you will receive your $1,000 in cash, and I will announce it, not who I'm giving it to, but that it has been given, because it's important to us that we continue this on. For those of you who may have some cases that you want to get solved and you know certain things have happened, you can certainly give us a call here at the church and we can investigate to see if it's something that we will put on our crime fighters. And we're just going to continue to move forward, because again, we are for what is right. If a person violates you, we're not going to protect them. That's not who we are. We are the people who will protect the innocent. And what this demonically demented individual did, we're not protecting them. Anything else from you, Kobe?
No. The last thing I have to say is on January 13th, it's the 1-year anniversary of Lamont Moses being killed.
Yeah.
Reverend Al Sharpton is coming here at 1 p.m. outside of the Caravel building. Okay. So if you have some time, feel free to stop. They're going to be talking about getting things done with SB 149 and bringing justice and accountability for Lamont.
So that's January 13th?
January 13th.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's I'm trying to think what date it is on.
I think it's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday. So this coming Thursday, January 13th at 1 o'clock at the Caravel building on 8th and French. Am I correct? please try to support and be out there because we are for what's right and for justice. And in this case, there was some injustice done, and we want to make sure we continue to bring light to it. I want to take this opportunity to say thanks to all of you wonderful people who watch us every day, who give us your comments, who say to us, hey, we're doing a great job. And sometimes you say, hey, we're not doing a great job. But regardless, we appreciate you. We appreciate your feedback. And I thank you. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
See ya.
Take care, y'all.